everybody. Welcome back to the Queens Lair. I am your host, Kellie Miles, and we are in the month of April. And so April 7th is World Health Day. So I figured, why not talk about healthy living for the month of April? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And of course, because we talk about topics that are relevant to women, and that's our primary focus, what we're going to talk about today is PCOS versus fibroids. And so we're going to get into this conversation. And before we do, I'm going to bring in our guest, Miss Cerissa Brown. Hi,
Hey.
Miss Cerissa.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's good. So let's talk a little bit about you, introduce you to the audience, let them know who you are, where you're from, and what you do so that they kind of have a little relatability there. At least they know who you are.
Okay. Well, I am Cerissa Brown. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, born and raised Southern girl. And I worked in call center customer service all my life. And I had a problem with the way that I'm a mental health advocate also.
Okay.
I have mental health, diagnosis, and I just didn't like the way it was stigmatized. So in 2008, I started speaking up about it, and it really became a strong passion of mine. And so I saw a situation happen in 2019 that I was not happy with the way Birmingham handled it. And I was trying to get the mayor, the police officer, the police department, everyone. I was trying to get them to listen to me because all I wanted them to do was get some training for their police officers, which I don't think the police should even handle those situations. But if they're going to do it, they should be properly trained. I was ignored.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it stuck with me. And one day I felt God speak to me, and I was at work, and I told my coworker, I said, I'm going to run for mayor. She said, if anybody did, it would be you crazy. Because I had no political experience. But I put myself
Right.
in the race. I was a newcomer. And at that time I was going to the stage, had purple hair, all funky and all that stuff, just different. But I was true. And I was true myself. I really cared about the people. And during that time, every single thing that was on my platform, it was done. I didn't lose.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, I didn't win. I'm sorry. I did lose. But I came in the middle, which is surprising because no one knew me. They were like, where did she come from?
Right.
I thought I was a plant. But from there, I was like, I don't like working corporate. I have the gift of mercy, and it's obvious I want to help people. And so from there, I started doing an annual MLK Day of Service Feminine Hygiene Drive. It grows bigger and bigger each year. This time we got over 500 individual items to give out to women.
Wow.
I'm going to distribute those tomorrow. And I do things like break light clinics in the community. Anything that's in the community, I'm there. It's like if people know to call me and ask. And the most recent thing is starting my nonprofit for Black and brown women that experience and their children that are experiencing homelessness and mental health issues. And so I don't know if you said you had a nonprofit. I'm just waiting for that 501c3, but I got everything else done. So that's it. That's me.
And that's amazing. I love that, you took your experience and you used that to kind of push you into your purpose as far as being a community organizer and being able to make a difference within the community. And even though people weren't listening to you initially, you found a way to make them listen to you. Even if you didn't win, they heard you and you got work done. So that's amazing. That's awesome. So, thank you so much for sharing it. And mental health is also something that is dear to me as well. And I know that's a conversation for another day, talking about healthy living, because your mental health is part of healthy living. Taking care of your mental health is definitely part of that. And I have a son who deals with some mental health conditions as well. So I'm definitely relating to you on that. So let's get into the discussion and the topic of PCOS versus fibroids. And so according to Mayo Clinic, PCOS is a common hormonal disorder that affects ovaries in women during childbearing years. The result is in having irregular menstrual cycles. And a friend of mine who actually suffers from PCOS, she shared some of the symptoms that she has. Her name is Atia Davy, and she suffers from PCOS and endometriosis. And so with that, she experiences facial hair, infertility. She has weight issues. She also deals with depression and anxiety. And so some of these things women might be experiencing and don't even realize that it's actually a medical condition that they're dealing with and might need to go see a doctor for treatment for. And then also fibroids is uterine fibroids are non-cancerous growths of the uterus that often appear during childbearing years as well, but they range in size. They can range from seedlings, little small ones that's undetectable, all the way up to bulky masses that can kind of distort and expand or enlarge the uterus. And you can have either one single fibroid or you can have multiple fibroids. And in extreme cases, multiple fibroids can expand the uterus so much that it reaches the rib cage and can add weight. And so after hearing that, and that's just a little bit of information that I found on Mayo Clinic when I was doing some research about that. And that's some of the stuff that I found. So let me ask what your experiences is with PCOS or fibroids, which one you have experience with.
Well, I did have endometriosis, but
Okay.
I had that also. But I came on because of fibroids.
Yes.
It was 2016, and I was peeing all the time. That's all I was doing. So I went to the urologist, and he was like, "Well, there's nothing wrong, but you might want to see your gynecologist." And he asked me, "Have you heard of uterine fibroids?" And then I was like, I have. I've heard people get them removed. It's like, I think you have those, and they're pushing on your bladder. They're sitting right on your bladder. So I went to see my doctor. And she was like, "Yeah, you do. And they're the size of blueberries." She was like, "We can just, suck them out." She's like, "No surgery, just suck them out. And that's it. It's easy." And so I was like, okay. I was dating a bum, but I didn't know he was a bum at the time. I thought it was my life. And he was like, "Oh, no, we're going to get married and we're going to have kids. So wait for that." People were like, "You can just get them." It's this thing where they can like scrape them off and all that. And so I did that. And we didn't even make it like 2 months after that. So, but I kept putting it off. And so actually, when the time I was running for mayor, when I was working the job I told you, I don't know how detailed I can get, but it was getting to the point I was staining everything with my period.
Oh, wow.
When I was on my period, my work seat would be filled with blood, and I would have to cover it with something, leave work. It was costing me my job. Leave work.
Oh, wow.
And I told my supervisor, like, just come in early and clean your chair. That's a lot. And my periods like 10 to 14 days. And I was just weak. And then when I was running for mayor, it was like so bad that my mom would have to help me come and like rig me up with all these pads, then a cup, then period pads, and diapers. It was terrible. Wow. And so,
and this is like, after you got them scraped.
No, I never got them scraped because I listened to the nut. But
okay, I got
you. So okay. So like I was like, something's changing. And then I noticed that my stomach, wasn't. I always looked pregnant, and just, I'm not a small girl, but my stomach just looked distended all the time. It was distended, and I was always constipated. So finally, I went back to the doctor, and I was like, "Okay, tell me, what's going on." And then she looked at it. She said, "Your fibroids are the size of a woman right now who would be 6 months pregnant." And I was like, "What?" So that's like, wow. And so it was sitting on everything. So not only was I peeing, I was constipated. It was affecting everything. It was sitting on organs, and I was bleeding everywhere. And I was terrified. I was terrified, but I wanted to do what was best. So finally, I, decided to go through with the surgery. But because for her, they were the largest she had ever seen. She wanted to put me on medicine for 3 months to stop my period and puts me in menopause so that it can shrink a little. And so she put me on that medicine. And menopause, I hats off to the women that have gone through menopause. It's no joke. I was mean. I'm
Yeah.
surprised, like
I-
my family still claim me. I
they
was,
probably was ready to throw you away, huh?
I think they were. I was mean and I was emotional, and but after I came, my blood was so low. After 1 month, she said, "We're going to surgery." I came on a Wednesday, and Monday I was going to surgery. Like she's like, "We're not
Wow.
doing the whole 3 rounds. We got to get this out of
Yeah.
you because you can
Yeah.
die." And it's like
Yeah.
so they did the surgery. She did an excellent job. The scar is minimal. Um, I feel, for a while I was still hot, but they talk something about your ovaries have to wake up after, because I kept my ovaries, which another story, they're going to have to take those because I just found out I have BACRA2. So they're going to have to go back
You have
in.
who?
BACRA2 is when somebody has the gene for cancer. So they're going to have to do a
Oh,
mastectomy and take the ovaries. So,
gotcha.
but she's been bothering me about that. And I was like, hold on, we're going to wait.
One thing at a time. Hold on.
Because
One thing
this,
at a time.
right, because this surgery was just last year. I just had it
Right.
in June, so I'm still like feeling like I'm healing. Get used to my body. My stomach's not
Hmm.
flat, but and it like it's not flat, but it flops over a little. But I love it more. It's not like
Right. Right.
round, like, and people are staring at me.
Right.
But
Like
it
you
was
six
just
months pregnant.
right. But it was a tough experience emotionally. The embarrassment, like running your car, other people's car. I started becoming like a recluse sitting in the house because I didn't want to
Yeah.
embarrass people, embarrass myself and have to explain to people.
Yeah. So when you got the surgery, does removing the fibroids and require removing your reproductive organs as well?
The surgery I got, yes, I had my fibroids, my uterus, and something else removed, but I kept my ovaries because my ovaries were fine, and she didn't want me to go into menopause. The medicine was
Gotcha.
just temporary, but so she did that. The hardest, you didn't ask this, but the hardest part for me was that even though I'm 42, 41 when I had the surgery, I've never been married. And so I always said I wanted to have a baby with my husband. And, because
Yeah.
I had my daughter when I was 20, I spent my life raising her. Like I really didn't date. I was funny about people being around her and stuff. So when she turned of age, I was like, okay, I'm gonna date. I might meet my
Yeah.
husband. And then now this is what I get. And so
Yeah.
that was really, really hard for me. But I also
Yeah.
think it turned out to, now I think God did that on purpose because my daughter's going through her issues now. I won't tell her story, but she's going through her issues
Yeah.
and she needs me. And I wouldn't be able to focus on the baby and focus on her at this point.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing because, we talked about this before, but, your story is not just for you, but it's also for somebody else. And it just happens to be your daughter
Mhm.
that you're able to help in this, this situation. And, that's a great thing. And I think that a lot of times we always have these plans and things that we want to do. And God will tell you, listen, this is what I need you to do. This is the path I need you to go on. You go ahead and make yours, but it ain't going to prosper unless you do it my way, you know. But I think that doesn't mean that it's, getting married is out of the cards for you. You may not necessarily be able to have the baby, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't have a husband who's going to come into your life that God blesses you with, that has to go through God first to get to you. So that is right that you still will be able to have a great relationship and you guys, will be able to experience all the things that you would love to experience, even if it doesn't include actually birthing a child, that just may have been not in the cards for you right
Mhm.
now for what God, because He has other plans for you.
Mhm.
And this story is what's going to help other people from this experience, even though you may not get that part. So that's great. I think that's an amazing, look, and it's good to see that you're encouraged about it and you're willing to share this story, when you're going through those moments of feeling embarrassed and, and all of those things. I want you to share with us some of the mental struggles that took you through, because we as women, we look at ourselves, we want to look a certain way. You mentioned talking about your stomach, and, when you're not satisfied with that, it weighs on your self-confidence, your self-esteem, and it makes you feel like you're not good enough. when
Mhm.
you are. So I want you to talk about that. But before you do, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I want you to share with us some of the things that you had to get through from the mental health perspective as it pertains to dealing with the fibroids and the symptoms of it. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Queens Lair. I am your host, Kellie Miles, and we have the amazing Cerissa Brown with us today as a guest, and we're talking about PCOS versus fibroids and just trying to get her experience that she's had, which has been mostly with the fibroids, and just talking about some of the symptoms that she went through, some of the experiences that she had to go through. And so the next conversation that we're getting ready to go into is talking about the emotional and mental stress that happens when your body is not cooperating with you, so to speak. And we as women, we all deal with our own little issues that can weigh on our self-esteem, our self-confidence, our self-worth, and make us feel like we're not enough because of some kind of physical impairment that we have. So let's talk about that, Cerissa. So tell us a little bit about the emotional side and how you got to the point where, and I'm sure none of us are perfect.
Mhm.
So I'm sure there's moments where we still feel like less than confident. All of us go through that. We have our moments. But what got you to the point where you're able to talk about it and, and you're able to share these experiences, and how did you get through that from a mental health and emotional standpoint?
Well, mainly because, most of the women in my family have had fibroids, but
Mm.
nobody talks about their experience
Yeah,
with
that's true.
or what it was like. And so, like, and then I'm researching things. Some scare me, some don't. And I wanted to know. So I'm always the person that if I want to know, I figure other people want to know. I always
Yeah.
talk about question. I think I overshare. So once I learned about it, I wanted to tell people about it.
Yep.
Imagine, like I mentioned with the bleeding, there's some other woman bleeding like that. And she's
Yeah.
thinking something with her, like I did. I thought I was dirty. Something was wrong with me. I was abnormal. It was costing my job. I couldn't leave the house. And people would think that I was acting funny if I canceled
Yeah.
plans. And when I say, oh, I'm bleeding everywhere, I can't come. So I make up a story. I
Right.
make an excuse. And so, I wanted to be honest to let some other person that's coming behind me or going through the same thing, you're normal, you're okay. The hardest part for me was, I hate to say it this way, I considered myself and was told that I was fine. At one And then at one point, I had started working out real heavy. So I was like really healthy, eating right. It was really healthy. Then when this happened, it's no stopping it. It's like your body doesn't care that you work out. And and I would have people give unsolicited advice because they don't know my situation. Like, oh, wow, your stomach is big and you're not pregnant. Do some sit ups. I could do sit ups
Yeah.
all day. That's not going to help. So, those type of things started, really weighing on me. I didn't feel attractive. It hurt my self-esteem. I'm like, I started, calling myself negative names, and I was just embarrassed, and I had my mother and daughter telling me I'm beautiful, my father, but I'm like, oh, y'all gotta say that, so
Right.
so y'all are obligated. You have to say that. But what helped me actually was that mayoral run, because I was taking
Mm.
all pictures at the selfie with this angle. So you look thin. But
Yeah.
when you run for mayor, I had been hiding. So no one would know from the past if they saw me that what I look like now.
Yeah.
Because it's so important, I had to stand in the forefront and be in front of people And so I started learning what looked nice on my body, what could cover the bulge, the bump, the stomach, or whatever. And then I was like, you're not that bad. And, so that helped me a lot. And so also it started helping me accept my body and realize that how much I counted on it and not in an oddly way. And so, now, yeah, I'm trying to work out and get back healthy because we want to be healthy, but it's not like an idol. It's not like I used to work out 6 hours a day. So it's like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's not an idol anymore.
Right.
Freed me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of working out, man. I mean, I'm sure it kept you good and healthy, but like you said, you can work out as much as you want to. And this is something that maybe you ladies who are watching can consider. If you're working out and you're doing all of this stuff to kind of get your stomach down and it's not going down for whatever reason, you might want to look into if there's something else going on there that you might need to be to seen about or treated for, especially when it comes to fibroids, because as you can see in this case, the fibroids can cause your stomach to expand. It can cause it to be distended, and it can be uncomfortable. So if you're experiencing some of those things, you might want to just consider checking that out and seeing if it could be something else. So, thank you for sharing it, because somebody might need to hear that. They might need to get that checked out and looked at. And, I always look at it when we're talking about ourselves and how we look and how our appearance is. We got to make sure that we're basing how we look and how we feel about how we look on based on internal factors and not external factors. Because they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So there's somebody else that might look at me and say, she all right, she ain't my type. But then there's somebody else that might be like, oh my God, she's great. But my beauty can't, and the way I think of myself, it can't be based on those external factors. And so, like you said, you had to look at yourself in the mirror and say, wait a minute, I'm not that bad. Okay, I can fix it up, And that's what we got to do. We got to fix up what we think is not right so that we are comfortable with it and not base it off of the external factors, because it's always going to be something you be bouncing all over the place worried about what everybody else thinks.
Right.
You
And
know what I'm
ladies, girdles don't work. Sorry to tell you. If you,
saying?
I was the one at the
Not even a
beginning.
good spank.
No, when you just said that people have many of them, my doctor said
Uh-huh.
she stopped counting at 20. And I had like the big one was like
Wow.
this big, and then it had a whole bunch, and it was filled in my uterus. I have pictures. I don't know if you'll allow me to send them, but but
We
um
might have to do a viewer discretion. Yeah.
because she was amazed. She took pictures.
Right.
It was a big deal to her in the whole office. Like this was the
Right.
big deal. But
Yeah.
it's so I was the person with all of those fibroids and stuff, and it does. It just I tried to get a girdle, and it doesn't. It doesn't flatten down. It's
Yeah.
like when you're pregnant. You can't really put a girdle on your stomach because it's hard, and my stomach is
Yeah.
hard just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you definitely, if you ladies are listening, you have that experience where you've tried Spanx and you've tried a girdle and you've used all of those things and it's still hard and not moving. You might want to see and get that checked out. We got to do a better job of taking care of ourselves. And one of the ways of doing that is being educated and having a knowledge base about some of the things that could be potentially going on and happening. So of course, this is not a medical diagnosis for anyone, but it's something by no means, but it's something for you guys to maybe take to consideration and to look into for potential issues. And so I want to say to you first, thank you for being so open and bold about sharing these experiences. But what would you say to a young lady who could potentially be experiencing some of the things that you're going through to encourage her along her journey? And how would you encourage someone who is feeling like that opportunity was taken away from them because maybe they too can't have children because of the condition? So how would you encourage them, a lady who's watching this, a young lady who's watching this?
Well, first, you didn't ask me this exact question, but I would want to stress to any young lady, if it's not your husband, do not listen to what a man tells you to do.
Yes, God.
I was a fool for that. We could have ended that there, so don't do that.
Yes.
But I would tell them to be open. No, I found that a lot of things, once you start talking about them, other women eventually they will start talking and opening up. Some might
Mm.
feel like, oh no, I never suffered with anything. But you will find some women that will start talking. You find out that you're normal, even if you have to go to an online group, you will find
Yeah.
people. And if you can't, have babies, like in this situation, like I still have my ovaries. If I wanted to, I could
Hmm.
harvest my eggs, but I'm done. So there are options. And then there's also, you feel you can love another child, you can adopt, you can mentor children. There's many ways, or maybe it doesn't seem like it right now. It might be like my situation. God has something in the cards for you that's just as great, and
Yeah.
so you just have to see how it unfolds. It doesn't seem like that right then, but it all works together for his good.
Yes, that was what I was just thinking. And it all works together for his good because, and that's the good and the bad. And so we don't know what our story is going to be. We don't know, how things are going to turn out. And it's not always the way we want, but that's okay because as long as we are aligned with God's word and aligned with what his purpose is for our lives, which we can find by seeking him and
Right.
by connecting and engaging and building and developing a relationship with him, he'll start to show you, he'll start to share with you and tell you through his word or through other vehicles and avenues. So just make sure you guys do that. So I just want to say thank you so much, Cerissa, for joining. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm just looking forward to hopefully we get a chance to talk a little more about the PCOS side as well. We might have to save that one for the after show. So y'all make sure y'all check the after show. But yes, thank you so much, Cerissa, for that. And we thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So we are actually getting ready to wrap up. And thank you guys so much. Just like we just said, all things work together for the good to them who love God and who are called according to his purpose. So just make sure you understand that the things that we go through in life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, are all things that God has purpose in. And sometimes that purpose is to build strength and character in us, but it's also to help somebody else on their journey so that we can allow them to see, because the Bible says to let your light so shine before all men so that they can see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven, which basically means when you go through that struggle, when God brings you out, you have to let people see that so that you also can share it with them and that they would glorify your Father in heaven as well. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you tune in for our next episode, which is in May, which is going to be talking about, is Mother's Day falls in May. So we're going to talk about communication breakdowns between mothers and daughters. So make sure you tune in for that. Also, you can check out our YouTube page where you can see the after show. And you can also check out other episodes that you might have missed. So take care, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for watching the Queens Lair. Stay tuned for the next episode.